My husband opened the closet and suddenly turned pale. "What is it?" he asked me. I was puzzled. "What do you mean?" Then I took a closer look at what he was pointing toward, and my heart sank. The following day, I uncovered the truth and reacted in a way that changed everything. Soon after, I would never talk to my parents again. I wish I could say it began with something dramatic, like a loud thump in the attic, a shadow lurking in the hallway, or a strange whispery voicemail from an unknown number that simply said, "You need to know." But that was not the case. It started with my husband, Mark, coming home and asking if we had any clean sweatpants. That was all there was to it. It was Tuesday. Not a strange Tuesday. Not one of those weird off days when the air feels heavy and birds crash into windows. No, this Tuesday was painfully ordinary. The kind of day you could repeat 10 times and never remember at all. I had just returned from work and was heating up leftover spaghetti, which had turned into one sticky noodle mass. Mark came in, kissed my forehead, and said, "God, I'm exhausted." That was his way of greeting me. I asked if rehearsal had been difficult. He told me the director had a breakdown because someone didn't grasp the subtext. I nodded and said, "Ah," pretending to understand subtext. Then he wandered off to change his clothes. That's when it happened. I heard him open the bedroom closet, followed by silence. No hangers clinking, no irritated sigh about how we needed to do laundry, just silence. Then came his voice. It wasn't sharp, but it carried that. There was a moment like holding your breath before a judgment. A tone that makes your stomach contract before your mind fully understands. I returned the call. "Yeah. Can you come over?" "Why?" "Just come now." I wish I could say I had an instant sense of danger, that I dropped my dinner and hurried down the hallway whispering, "This is it, the start of the downfall." But the truth is, I rolled my eyes, scraped cheese off my fork, and muttered something about how men are useless without seeing things for themselves. I entered the bedroom. Mark stood by the open closet, frozen as if the scene had paused. His hand was half raised, pointing towards a shelf. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't glance at me. He just nodded again toward the shelf. At first I saw only the usual mess: a folded beach towel, one of Mike's hoodies, and a lone sock I meant to throw away since its pair vanished in the dryer 2 months ago. Then I noticed it, tucked almost casually between a crumpled t-shirt and the towel. A bra. I frowned. "What's this?" "It's mine," he insisted. "No," I said, moving closer. It was pale pink, with delicate lace edging, the kind of shade you wear only if you expect to be seen. Not the comfy sports bra for sleeping. This was the kind meant for special nights, performance, or not mine at all. I lifted it slowly. The weight registered before the truth did. It was warm as if it had been worn very recently. I looked at Mark. "All right, that is strange." He raised his eyebrows and waited. I added, "That does not belong to me." "Yes," he replied. The silence between us felt heavier than expected. My thoughts started racing. The truth is, I am not exactly a neat person. I am the type who might misplace car keys inside the refrigerator. Yet here was a bra, not mine, one I had touched and supposedly lived beside for who knows how long. I glanced at him again. "Just to be sure, you found this?" He nodded in response. "I was searching for my sweatpants. Is that right? And you assumed it was mine?" I was certain it was not. "Oh," I blinked. "Impressive observation. It is 2 cup sizes smaller." I blinked once more. "Well, thanks for noticing." He did not smile. I carefully placed the bra back on the shelf as if touching it too long could burn me. My fingers felt strange, not ashamed or afraid, just wrong, like I had accidentally touched something alive. My mind jumped to a first irrational idea. Maybe it was left behind by a previous tenant. Perhaps it got stuck in the back of the closet and slowly made its way to the front like a time-traveling accusation. But this was no dusty relic from an abandoned attic. This one was fresh, worn, not covered in dust, recently placed there. I turned back to Mark. I swear I do not know where that came from. His jaw clenched, as if he wanted to believe me, but was not sure he could just yet. I hated that expression. Not because it hurt, but because it made me feel like I was already losing something without knowing exactly what it was. We stood there silently. I stayed there for a while longer. Then I attempted to lighten the mood with a joke, suggesting maybe an intruder had sneaked in and left a calling card, like some kind of backward lingerie thief. He remained silent without a hint of amusement. I gave in and retreated to the kitchen, forcing my attention on the pasta. Dinner was tense. Mike poked at his food as if it had offended him. I chewed without enthusiasm, deliberately avoiding looking at the bra that lingered in my side vision. Halfway through the meal, he suddenly looked up and asked, "Are you trying something new?" I blinked in surprise. "What? What exactly do you mean?" "You know what I mean," he replied. "No, honestly I don't," I said as he pushed his plate away. "I found things that aren't yours. What else am I supposed to think?" I stared at him, feeling the pasta grow cold in my mouth. "You suspect I'm unfaithful?" He didn't respond, just held my gaze. I dropped my fork. "Seriously? You discovered a woman's bra in our closet and the first person you suspect is me?" Still no words. I stood. "If anyone should be questioning, it's me, since you're the man in this situation." He met my eyes again. "Then why don't you seem more agitated?" I opened my mouth to answer, but nothing came out. He had a valid point. I was neither angry nor frantic. Instead, I felt unsteady, as if someone had swapped my reality for a slightly distorted version and dared me to notice. So I simply stood there silent, and Mike looked at me as if I'd silently confessed the worst. Few things are more cursed than folding laundry when your marriage is being scrutinized. You don't realize how many suspicious pieces of clothing you own until then. You keep searching until you start pulling things out of the dryer, like an investigator dusting for evidence. Every single sock turns into a mystery. Every lace trim feels like a warning sign. It was the following day. I had barely gotten any sleep. Mark and I were still talking, but our chats had taken on that strange passive-aggressive tone where everything sounds normal only if you read between the lines. I was sorting laundry in the kitchen, half buzzed from cheap red wine and bad energy when I spotted it. The slipper. It was stuck under a crumpled hoodie I did not remember washing. Small, powder blue, fuzzy, with one of those decorative bows that says someone owns a pink hairdryer and calls their dog Sweetie. Not mine, and not even close. I held it up like it was some piece of roadkill, already sure it was trouble. The sole was badly worn, the inside flattened. Someone had definitely been wearing this recently, maybe while binge-watching Netflix and planning my personal downfall. I had no time to think. I heard the front door close, footsteps coming in. Panic kicked in, a completely useless reaction. I should have just walked out, handed it to Mark and said, "Look, more weirdness. Your turn to freak out." But no, I panicked like a teenager caught sneaking a smoke in the garage. I shoved the slipper behind my back. Mark entered. He looked at me, then at the laundry, then at my way too unnatural stance. "What are you hiding?" I gave him my best innocent look. He didn't buy it. He stepped closer. I pulled out the slipper like it was a weapon I was surrendering. He looked at it, then back at me, and quietly said, "Yeah, I suspected as much." I didn't know what to say, so I tried to be honest. "I don't know where that came from." He did not shout or even let out a sigh. Instead, he simply left the room. Somehow, that felt even worse. I stood frozen, clutching the slipper, my heart racing, but my mind lagging far behind. I wasn't going to get any clarity from Mark, and I didn't trust myself to piece everything together alone. So, I headed upstairs. My mother was sitting hunched over at the dining table, scrolling on her phone with her reading glasses perched on her nose, wearing an expression as if she had been personally let down by the news. She looked up as I entered. "What is that?" I placed the slipper down in front of her. She glanced at it briefly. "Yours?" "No." She tilted her head. "Laundry mix-up." I stared at her. She returned my gaze. I sat down. "It's not mine. It was in the laundry basket. Just the day before, Mark had found a bra in our closet that wasn't mine either." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. She leaned back, as if settling in for something. "Are you sure it's not something old you forgot about?" I shook my head. It was the wrong size. She nodded slowly, as if that cleared something up in her mind, though not for me. "Has he acted odd lately?" she inquired. I frowned. "No." She folded her hands on the table. "Maybe not odd, but distant, distracted. You said yourself he's been stressed." I narrowed my eyes. "Wait, are you suggesting you think he might be cheating?" She paused just long enough to seem uncertain. I didn't want to say anything, but I did. I saw something a few weeks ago that made me blink in disbelief. What was happening? I had come home earlier than usual because I had forgotten my charger. You were not there. My heart sank when I noticed him in the living room with someone else. I stared in shock. Who was it? I have no idea. A woman. She looked young, with dark hair, or perhaps light brown, but I didn't get a clear look. "And you never mentioned anything." I had no clue. "How could this be?" she asked. At first I thought it might be innocent, but then she pointed toward the slipper and a bra appearing in your closet. I was speechless, still trying to grasp if I had really heard her right. She shook her head softly, as if feeling sorry for me, but not judging me. She said, "There is someone else's pink bra in your closet, and you don't even suspect your husband of cheating. You are so naive." I looked at her, then at the slipper on the floor, then back at her. She tilted her head and added, "He is an actor, Lisa. They know how to deceive. Do you really think he couldn't fake surprise if he needed to?" I stood up slowly while she stayed seated. "You place too much trust," she said. "That is your weakness." I turned around and left without saying another word. For the first time, I did not feel guilty about it. Outside, I kept walking with no destination, no coat, just movement. I just wanted the house, and everyone in it, to feel smaller behind me. My mind was spinning in endless circles. He is not cheating. But what if he is? No, he is not. Yet, she sounded so certain. Then, as I rounded the corner of our block, something my mother once said echoed in my head. A single phrase, a small detail, something she should not have known. I stopped completely, frozen in place. How did I fail to notice anything before? She said, "It hit me, and everything shifted." It is odd how your mind begins to rewind when you're trying to understand something that simply does not add up. Here is the thing about my early years. By and large, it appeared ordinary. There were bike rides, cartoons, soggy grilled cheese sandwiches. I had a sister named Sienna, 2 years my senior. People often claimed we looked alike, yet we behaved very differently. She was louder, more vibrant, always the one with glitter sprinkled in her hair or reciting made-up monologues. She was determined to perform in the living room. I was the quieter one, the watcher, the child who could keep herself busy for 4 hours straight with a notepad and a set of markers. Sometimes I felt that Sienna was the preferred one, but I could never provide proof. It was never blatant, just a slight tilt in the way they regarded her. A faster response when she cried, or a few more pictures of her hanging on the walls. Maybe it was all in my head. Or maybe it was simply the pull of her personality, the way she attracted attention effortlessly. But when the first real fracture happened, it was not discreet. It was college. Sienna was accepted into a private acting school in the city, one with velvet seats and tuition that required a kidney. My parents did not hesitate at all. They covered every expense: tuition, books, housing. They co-signed a loan and spoke about supporting her dream as though it were the most natural thing in the world, the most significant decision they ever made. 2 years later, I was accepted into a finance program. Nothing flashy or artistic, just reliable and practical. I showed them my acceptance letter. They said, "Congratulations." Then they added they were sorry because there was no money left. It wasn't that they refused to help, but Sienna's dream had drained the funds completely. I assured them it was all right and that I would find a way. And I did. Through scholarships, 2 jobs, and student loans. I graduated on schedule. No celebration, no family photo in front of the school. They didn't even inquire about my final assignment. Meanwhile, Sienna was still in between productions, and they were still covering the cost of her headshot. Eventually, I landed a job, a proper one, with numbers, benefits, and a desk that had a drawer. I saved and worked hard. I bought a house, not a mansion, but it was mine. No assistance from anyone, no offers of help. Then, by accident, fate, or some cruel cosmic joke, I met Mark through Sienna, naturally. He was performing in a stage piece with her at a small black box theater. I decided to visit mostly because I hadn't seen her in a while, and partly hoping she might stop asking for money if I supported her art. He was not hers, to be clear. They were never a couple, but she had a crush on him. That was obvious. She mentioned him more than anyone else in the cast, said his timing was excellent and that he was underappreciated. Then things got strange when Mark and I started talking. Even stranger when we began dating. She never said congratulations. She spoke with seriousness. Then she wept to my mother for 3 hours about betrayal. I was uncertain who had betrayed her or the reasons behind it. However, from that moment onward, the roles were defined. I became the offender. She assumed the role of the injured artist. Predictably, my parents sided with her story. Mark and I remained silent, concentrated. We got married quietly. No grand celebration or dance floor chaos. Just simple vows in the backyard and a couple of poorly fitted suits. My mother still complains about not being seated near the cake. Several years later, they lost their home. Naturally, it happened. A mixture of poor investments, medical expenses, and what I suspect was an additional round of tuition for an advanced course that Sienna needed to take in New York. They moved into our upstairs space. The word temporary was repeated frequently during those initial weeks, just until they regained their stability, just until they worked things out. Surprisingly, they have been here for almost 2 years now. They occupy space quietly, like a lingering fog. My mother works part-time online while my father picks up odd shifts in a warehouse. They are always present, drifting upstairs, passing by Mark as if he were an unpaid assistant in his own home. They never insult him directly, but they pose questions that sound like corrections. "You're still involved in theater, huh? Have you ever thought about something more steady?" And for me, wouldn't it be easier to be with someone who shares your world? I used to laugh it off, and Mark did as well. But after some time, you begin to feel it, like trying to sleep on a bed with a stone beneath you, a mattress you just cannot seem to locate. Then the play started. Sienna and Mike were both selected for a fresh local production. Historical drama, candlelight, snug outfits, poor accents. I convinced myself it was nothing, just a coincidence, that they were professionals, that I trusted him, and indeed I did. Yet my gut told me a different story. My mother's reaction only made it worse. She lit up as though she'd just heard news of a royal wedding. Sienna appeared indifferent, which for her meant struggling not to look pleased with herself. And Mark, bless him, treated it like any ordinary job. He came home exhausted, ate some leftovers, rehearsed his lines loudly as usual. But I sensed something strange moving towards the middle of the room. Then came the bra, the slipper, the silence, the accusation. Then that phrase. The one sentence my mother uttered casually like it was common knowledge, something she should not have been aware of. She said, "There is someone else's pink bra in your closet, and you do not even suspect your husband of cheating." That was exactly what she said, right? That was the phrase. Only I had never told her it was pink. Not once. Not even close. I did not mention the color at all because it was not necessary. It was not about the color. It was about the very existence of it. Used and not mine. Left in our closet like a relationship I could not remember ever having. But she knew it was pink, which meant she had seen it, which meant she did not just hear about it. She put it there. It was clear. It did not feel like a sudden insight, more like a snap, a very quiet, very sharp snap deep inside my chest. Something that had been tight for weeks suddenly gave way all at once. Mark's mother had hidden the bra, and if she had hidden the bra, she most likely hid the slipper as well. The thought twisted my stomach. I did not walk back to the house calmly. I charged. When I arrived, the house was unusually silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that makes you wonder if someone already knows they have been caught and has escaped, or worse, if they have not been caught yet and are plotting their next move. I pushed the door open and kicked off my shoes, hard enough for one to bounce against the wall. I did not care. I was ready to confront her immediately. I was done. Instead of finding my parents upstairs pretending not to hear the commotion, I entered the living room and saw Mike sitting at the edge of the couch. He was not watching television or reading. He was just sitting, elbows resting on his knees, hands clasped together, waiting. He looked up at me, his face impossible to read, but his eyes showed exhaustion, like he had not slept, like his mind had not stopped racing since I left the house. My anger caught in my throat. "Hey," I said. He did not respond with a greeting. Instead, he said, "Your mom told me everything." My stomach sank. I did not know which everything he meant, but I was certain it was not good. "What do you mean?" I asked. He took a long breath. "I wanted to hear it from you, but I guess you were not going to say anything." "Tell me. Here is the thing." He glanced up, not angry but hurt. "Are you involved with someone?" I blinked, confused. "What do you mean? A woman?" I opened my mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. "What on earth are you talking about? Your mother said she saw you, that one day she came home early and you were with someone else, another woman in the house." I laughed. Actually, I laughed. It was one of those surprised, breathy, high-pitched laughs that belonged to someone barely holding back tears in public. "Really?" he continued. "She did not want to tell me because you are her child, and she did not want to cause harm. But now she believes I deserve to know. I dropped my bag, and you believed her." He looked away. She was very persuasive. Oh, wow, she was convincing. "Mark, she is not an actress." "You are," he winced. I let out a sharp, shallow breath. "No, I am not seeing anyone. I am certainly not seeing a woman. And if I were cheating, which I am not, I would never bring anyone back to the home I share with you, our parents, and what feels like 2.5 types of mold." "I am unsure what to think," he said. She described it so clearly. The bra, the slipper, it just... I shook my head. "Okay, stop. I am saying this once. My mother is lying." He did not respond. "She told me you were unfaithful," I continued. That she saw you with a woman when she came home early. She even detailed her hair, blonde or maybe brunette. You know, whatever fits. Still no answer. He told me after spotting the slipper and the bra. She mentioned they were pink. That caught his attention. His eyebrows rose slightly. I never confessed that, but she was aware. She slipped up. She knew because she had placed them there. Silence fell. Heavy and uncertain. Then he quietly asked, "Why would she lie?" Just then, we heard the front door opening. Footsteps, her laughter, as if nothing had happened, like her chaos had not erupted an hour earlier. I turned to Mark. "Hide," I whispered. "Where?" "Behind the curtain, the coat rack, or the hallway wall. Just hide, please." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. I slipped around the corner, heart racing as if we were defusing a bomb in our own entryway. I heard her footsteps, keys on the counter, then her voice. "Lisa, are you home?" I cleared my throat from behind the wall. "Yeah." She walked in, still clutching her purse. "Have you seen Mark?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "No, not today," she replied quickly. "Why?" I shrugged, pretending to be curious. I studied her, waiting. Then I said, "Actually, there is something I wanted to ask. That woman you said you saw me with? Can you describe her again?" She blinked, then smiled as if she had practiced this. "Oh, sure. She was young, maybe in her 20s, short with dark hair. I think she had a tote bag. You two looked close." I nodded slowly. Then Mark came into the room. He froze. His expression was calm, neither smug nor angry, just resigned. So he said, "You told her I was cheating, and you told me she." My mom looked at him, then at me, then back at him again. I said, "That's not—" "Don't." Her mouth opened once more but then shut quickly. She placed her purse on the table as if we were still going to discuss groceries. After that, she walked upstairs. No apology, no explanation, not even a glance back, just the sound of her footsteps on the stairs, and silence swallowing the room she left behind. Mark turned toward me, his voice breaking on the first word. "I'm sorry." I stayed silent and let him continue. "I didn't want to accept what was happening. I thought maybe I wasn't enough for you. You're so— Don't." He stopped mid-sentence. "You are," I said. He moved closer, slowly reached for my hand, and I allowed him to take it. We stayed quiet for a long time, but neither of us let go. I kept my thoughts to myself. Not yet. Not until warmth returned in his grasp. But I was thinking it. It wasn't just about my mom or the lies. There was something more, something still hidden, and I was determined to uncover it. I did not sleep that night. I lay beside Mike, who eventually fell asleep with his arm draped over my waist, as if he feared I might drift away. I kept staring at the ceiling, blinking slowly, letting the silence fill every inch inside me. This was far from over. I had caught my mom in a lie, briefly satisfying for maybe 5 seconds, but I saw her face when she was cornered. Calm, unshaken, like she was already planning her next move. That meant the truth was bigger, and I was going to find it. I was determined not to leave anything hidden. The following morning I went upstairs. No loud knocking, no anger, just calm, steady footsteps. I wasn't there to argue. I was there to uncover the truth. My father sat at the kitchen table scrolling through his phone as if trying to shirk responsibility through Bluetooth. "Morning," he said without looking up. "Did you know what Mom did?" I asked. That caught his attention. He slowly raised his eyes, already harboring guilt. So that was confirmation. He exhaled deeply. "It wasn't meant to hurt you," he said. "Right?" I replied. "It was only meant to shake up my marriage." completely harmless. He had the nerve to appear reflective. "We just didn't think you and Mike were a good match," he finally admitted. "You think I'm unaware?" "That's what you have always believed. You're practical. He's dramatic. He's an actor. That is literally his profession. And you work in finance. Is there some rule that says we must balance taxes together to be a good fit?" He sighed like I was the irrational one. "We only want what's best for you." I let out a hollow laugh. "Is that what this is? What's best for me?" He stayed silent. I stepped closer. "Or is it about something else?" He hesitated. Then, as though commenting on the weather, he said, "Sienna has always had feelings for him." I stared at him. "She never truly moved on," he added. "They share chemistry. You have seen them on stage." "She's pretending," I said. He smiled. "Maybe, but it looked genuine. So, you chose to ruin a marriage staged for the sake of appearance. We believed this could be her final opportunity." I couldn't determine whether my heart was pounding wildly or attempting to escape my chest and soar into the universe. "Did she realize?" I inquired quietly. Silence followed. That silence spoke volumes. I rested my elbows on the table, locking eyes with him. "What action did you take?" "We rigged the bra." My jaw clenched tightly. "And the slipper?" He nodded solemnly. "Why?" "To evaluate your relationship, to expose its flaws. You intended it to collapse." He made no denial. "You are too different," he said, "and she is just right for him." I gave a single nod and then left. I neither wept nor shouted. Instead, I opened my laptop and composed an eviction notice. I printed it out, fastened the pages together, and folded it carefully in half. Then I returned upstairs, placed it on the kitchen counter, and faced them both. "You have 30 days, I declared. "After that, I expect you to be gone." My mother gasped. "We are your parents," she said. "And I am your daughter," I replied. "And yet you still chose her." She tried once more. "You are overreacting." I picked up the notice, walked to the fridge, and stuck it there next to the grocery list as a family reminder. This time I stated, "You do not get to rewrite the story." Then I went downstairs. I believed this was the conclusion. It should have been. But one piece still felt out of place. I needed to discover whether Sienna had been involved, if she had witnessed me struggling and handed them the very water that drowned me. So, without warning, I drove to her apartment, just bringing coffee. She opened the door wearing sweatpants and a messy bun, clearly surprised to see me. "Hey," she said, "is everything all right?" I replied, "No, do you have 5 minutes?" She moved aside, and I shared everything with her: the bra, the slipper, the trap, the deception. When I finished, she just sat quietly, her mouth slightly open. "They did what?" she asked. "You had no idea?" I told her. "No, absolutely not. Are you serious?" I watched her carefully, searching for any sign of disbelief. "I didn't notice anything," she admitted. "I thought their behavior was odd, but not in a way that suggested sabotage." I let out a deep breath. Then she added, "Actually, I've started seeing someone." I blinked, surprised. "His name is Marcus. He is incredible, intelligent, kind, and honestly, ridiculously handsome." She smiled briefly, but then her expression changed. "They're not happy about it," she said softly, "because he is black." I nodded silently. "They haven't said anything openly," she continued, "but there have been passive insinuations, questions about whether we're truly compatible or if I've considered the long term." She looked at me, raising her eyebrows. "And recently, they keep bringing up Mark suddenly, like that moment when you kissed on stage, as if it meant something, as if it wasn't just an obstacle." Everything fell into place. They weren't only trying to destroy my marriage, they were trying to rewrite it. They couldn't accept her boyfriend, so they wanted to push Mark back in, as my husband, their fallback. I stood up slowly. "You didn't do this," I said, "but they did it on your behalf." Sienna nodded, apologetic. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "Me too," I replied. And for the first time in many years, I did not see her as an enemy. I simply felt exhausted. Later, I was standing in my kitchen when Mark came in behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, and rested his chin on my shoulder. He said, "Hey." We did not exchange any more words. There was very little left to say. Yet, in the silence, something unfamiliar began to take shape. It was not peace, not yet, but a certain distance from them. And maybe that distance was enough for now. A few months later, my parents were gone, having moved out with all their boxes and belongings. I cut off all contact, blocked their phone numbers, emails, group chats, and even the Spotify account we used to share. I do not care if they miss their playlists. What I truly miss is having parents who did not lie to my face. They attempted to reach out on several occasions, sending subtle signals like a forwarded article, a voicemail about an upcoming birthday, or a text reading, "We miss you," as if it had not been a deliberate attack the last time they spoke to me. I never replied, nor do I intend to. The strange part is that Mike hardly talks to them anymore as well. After everything they put us through, the manipulation, sabotage, and blatant racism, even she distanced herself. They supported her for years, invested money in her career, but apparently, even golden children have their limits. She is not fully cut off like me, but she keeps her distance. She describes it by saying they drain her energy, which might be the most polite way of saying, "You tried to control two lives without permission." But here is something I did not expect. Mike and I, we are okay now. Actually, things are going quite well. She and Mark are still together, and it is serious now. They have moved in together. Mark is wonderful, funny, and down to earth. He makes her laugh just like she used to when we were kids. As for us, we communicate more often. We share our thoughts and emotions. We are trying to build something that never truly existed before. It turns out that when you remove the part of the family causing chaos, the rest of the home becomes much easier to live in. So yes, no contact, no apologies, and no more chances. Did I go too far, or was it not enough? You be the judge.